In a city of glass towers, flashing lights, and fast cars, lived a man who had everything. Fame. Fortune. Power. But happiness? That had slipped through his fingers long ago. Leo Blake was a millionaire. A tech mogul with success written all over him, Forbes covers, interviews, luxury events. But behind the massive doors of his cold modern mansion was silence. Too much silence. After a bitter divorce, Leo was left with sole custody of his 5-year-old daughter, Emily. A quiet little girl with eyes too big and too sad for her age. She used to laugh, run, sing. But after her mother left, Emily changed. Now, she barely spoke. She clutched her stuffed bear like it was her only friend. And every time a new nanny walked through the door, she would run and hide behind the curtains. Leo had tried. He really had. But between board meetings, deadlines, and sleepless nights, he was burning out. And Emily? She was slipping further away. "Get me a new nanny," he told his assistant. "It'll be the 5th one this month, Mr. Blake. I don't care. I just want someone who connects with my daughter." And then, she arrived. Nothing like the others. No designer clothes. No expensive perfume. Just a soft ponytail, warm eyes, and a nervous smile. "Hi. I'm Mia. From the agency." Leo gave a short nod. He barely looked at her. He was tired of interviews, tired of fake charm, tired of hope. But then, he noticed Emily. She didn't run. She didn't scream. She just peeked from behind the couch, staring. Watching. Mia crouched down to her level, holding out a tiny elephant plush she brought in her bag. "Is this your bear's friend? I think his name might be Pancake." Emily blinked. Then, almost like a whisper, she nodded. Leo stood frozen. It was the first time Emily reacted like that in weeks. He didn't say much that day. He just watched. That night, Emily finished her dinner, no tantrums. Later, Mia read her a bedtime story. And before falling asleep, Emily whispered something that made Leo's heart stop. "You feel like a mom, but softer." Leo sat on the couch long after Mia had gone to her room. He looked around the house, the one he'd filled with art and gadgets, trying to fix what was broken. But tonight, it wasn't a machine or software that brought warmth. It was Mia. Over the next few days, everything shifted. The house wasn't just quiet anymore, it was calm. Emily laughed again. She asked Mia to braid her hair. She hummed when they baked cookies. Leo pretended not to watch, but every time he passed by and saw them smiling together, something in his chest tightened, and softened at the same time. But not everyone was smiling. Far away, someone else was watching. Someone with cold eyes and sharp intentions. His ex-wife had seen the nanny. And jealousy, the poisonous kind, was about to awaken. Because to some people, losing control is worse than losing love. And Mia? She was about to be tested in ways she never imagined. The days passed, and something beautiful started blooming in Leo's house. Laughter returned. Not loud or chaotic, but warm, small, sincere. The kind of laughter that only comes when a child feels truly safe. Emily was changing. She painted again. She danced with socks on the marble floors. She clung to Mia like a sunflower to sunlight. And Leo? He tried to stay distant. Professional. But every day, it got harder. He'd find himself lingering near the kitchen, just to hear Mia's soft voice while she read fairy tales. He caught himself smiling at her jokes, ones that weren't even that funny. And one night, while walking past Emily's room, he heard something that made him stop. "I wish Mia could stay forever." His heart skipped. Downstairs, Leo poured himself a drink. He stared at the city lights through the giant glass wall, but his mind was somewhere else. With her. Mia. She was unlike anyone he'd ever met. She wasn't impressed by money. She didn't act like she was trying to win him. She simply was. Kind. Gentle. Strong when needed. And it terrified him. Because the last time he let someone in, he got burned. Meanwhile, Mia didn't know what to think. Leo was always polite, sometimes kind, but also distant. Still, she noticed the way his eyes softened around Emily. The way he'd glance at her, then quickly look away. There was something there. Unspoken. Growing. But peace, as always, never lasts too long. One afternoon, while Mia was helping Emily with her hair, the front door buzzed. Leo opened it, and froze. His ex-wife stood there. Vivian. Dressed in flawless white, with sunglasses too expensive and a smile too fake. "Miss me?" she purred. Leo didn't answer. He just stepped aside and let her in. The second Emily saw her mother, she ran to her room. No hug. No hello. Vivian's smile faded for half a second, then snapped back. "So," she looked around. "This is what you've done with the place. Cold. Sterile. Like your heart." Leo didn't flinch. "Why are you here? Can't a mother visit her child? She's not your accessory." Vivian wandered through the living room, and then spotted Mia. Her expression changed instantly. A new woman. In her home. With her child. And Leo? Something in her snapped, though she'd never admit it. Smiling tightly, she walked over. "You must be the nanny." Mia nodded politely. "Well, let's hope you're better than the last 10. That night, Vivian stayed too long. Asked too many questions. Looked too closely. And when she left, her heels clicked like warning bells. Mia felt the shift in the air. Something wasn't right. Vivian had looked at her like a threat. And threats get eliminated. What no one knew was that Vivian had a plan. One that would hurt more than anyone expected. Because sometimes, the most dangerous person, is the one who smiles the sweetest. Days turned into weeks, and life inside Leo's home felt almost normal. Emily was brighter, her laughter echoing down the halls. Mia had become part of the rhythm, like she'd always belonged. Even Leo, once cold and closed off, seemed lighter. He started coming home earlier. He'd stop by the kitchen just to chat with Mia, not about Emily, not about work, but about books, music, little things. Things that made them feel real. But outside that warmth, something cold was stirring. Vivian wasn't done. She watched from the shadows, behind tinted car windows and fake smiles. The more she saw Leo and Mia, laughing, connecting, building something, the more it burned. She hadn't wanted Leo anymore. Not really. But the idea of someone else getting what she once had. That was unacceptable. So she did what people like her always do. She plotted. It started small. An innocent text, Emily forgot her favorite toy. "Mind if I drop by?" Leo said yes. Mia stayed quiet. Vivian arrived all sweet and pleasant, hugging Emily like nothing had changed. But her eyes never left Mia. Then came the second visit. Then the third. Until one afternoon, after a long walk in the park, Mia reached into her bag to grab Emily's snacks. And froze. At the bottom of her tote, was Emily's favorite necklace. The one that had gone missing a week ago. The one Vivian had blamed Leo for losing. Mia's heart sank. She knew she hadn't put it there. She knew. But how could she prove that? Later that night, Vivian made her move. She discovered the necklace in Mia's bag in front of Leo. Gasps. Tension. Accusation. Mia, Vivian said softly, almost sweetly, I'm not saying you took it, but Emily was heartbroken when it went missing. Leo stood frozen. He looked at Mia. Her face was pale, eyes wide, holding back tears. I didn't take it, she whispered. Vivian sighed dramatically. I'm sure it was just a mistake. Maybe Emily dropped it in your bag. Mia looked at Leo, searching his face for trust. But he looked away. That hurt more than words ever could. That night, Mia sat alone in her room, staring at the floor. Why would Vivian do this? Why didn't Leo defend her? Was this the beginning of the end? Down the hall, Leo poured a drink. His mind raced. Did Mia really? No. He didn't want to believe it. But doubt had a way of creeping in, quiet, slow, poisonous. Vivian, in her car, smiled to herself. One seed of suspicion, planted. And just like that, the perfect peace they had built began to crack. The house felt colder. Not because the weather changed, but because something had shifted inside. Mia still showed up every morning with a smile. She still packed Emily's lunch, helped her with homework, and read her bedtime stories. But something in her had dimmed. She no longer laughed the same way. No longer lingered in the kitchen after hours. No longer met Leo's eyes. And Emily noticed. The little girl had grown attached, truly attached. So when Mia became quiet and distant, Emily felt it like a storm cloud over her heart. Why is Mia sad? She asked Leo one night. He didn't know what to say. He hadn't spoken to Mia, not really, since the necklace incident. The air between them was heavy with unspoken things. Leo wanted to believe her. He did believe her. But that tiny seed of doubt Vivian planted? It had grown thorns. And Mia? She thought about quitting every day. She'd sit by the window at night, watching the lights of the city, wondering if she should just walk away. It wasn't about the job anymore. It was about the pain of being doubted by the one person she had started to trust. She had given everything, love, care, time, not just to Emily, but to Leo, too. And now? One lie had unraveled it all. But just when everything seemed to fall apart, fate decided to intervene. One stormy afternoon, Leo had to attend an emergency meeting. Vivian, claiming to help, offered to stay with Emily. Mia protested quietly, but Leo was rushed and distracted. It's just for an hour, he said. She's her mother, after all. Mia nodded. But something in her gut twisted. An hour passed. Then two. Then Mia's phone rang. Emily's voice was trembling. Mia, Mommy left. I'm alone. Mia's heart dropped. She raced through the city, drenched in rain, not caring who saw her. When she arrived, Emily was sitting on the floor, clutching her bare, eyes red from crying. Mia scooped her up, holding her tight. She didn't ask questions. She just whispered. You're safe now. I've got you. Leo returned minutes later, soaked, frantic, and found them like that. He didn't say a word. He just looked at Mia, truly looked at her. And something shattered inside him. Regret. Guilt. And the deepest kind of admiration. Vivian had lied. She had manipulated everything. And Mia? She had stayed. Protected. Loved. Later that night, when Emily was asleep, Leo stood outside Mia's door. He knocked once. She opened it, eyes tired, face soft. I was wrong, he said. I should have trusted you. I should have stood up for you. Mia looked at him, unsure. She wanted to believe him. She needed to. But trust, once broken, doesn't heal in a single night. Still, she nodded. Just a little. And in that moment, everything didn't heal. But it began. The next morning, everything felt different. Not lighter. Not yet. But clearer. Leo had barely slept. The image of Emily, scared and alone, haunted him. And Mia's arms, wrapped around his daughter, had said more than 1,000 words ever could. He made a decision. He wouldn't let anyone, not even Vivian, bring that kind of fear into their lives again. Mia, meanwhile, kept her distance. Not out of anger. Out of self-protection. She had felt hope once before. And it had crumbled too easily. She needed to see action, not apologies. And that moment came, sooner than she expected. That afternoon, Vivian returned. No warning. No permission. "I brought new shoes for Emily," she announced, walking in like she owned the place. Leo met her at the doorway. "You're not welcome here," he said firmly. Vivian blinked. "Excuse me? You left our daughter alone. Lied. Manipulated. This ends now." She laughed, cold and bitter. "Is this about your little nanny again?" Before Leo could respond, Emily stepped out from behind the stairs. She had heard everything. Tears welled up in her eyes. "You left me, Mommy." Vivian tried to approach her, but Emily took a step back. Towards Mia. Vivian's mask slipped. "Just for a second." "Oh, come on. She's just a nanny. She's not your mother." But Emily looked at Mia, and whispered. "She feels like one." That broke Leo. He turned to Vivian with a calm, dangerous edge in his voice. "You've lost the right to be here. Leave. Now." Vivian, realizing she no longer held power, turned and walked out. No drama. No final words. Just silence, and a door closing behind her. That night, the house was quiet. But it wasn't cold anymore. Emily fell asleep curled next to Mia, holding her hand. And Leo watched from the hallway, unsure if he should feel ashamed, or grateful. Later, Mia stepped into the kitchen, finding Leo standing by the window again. He turned to her. Eyes soft. Shoulders heavy. "I don't know how to fix everything, but I want to try." Mia hesitated. Then stepped closer. "We don't have to fix everything at once," she said gently. "We just have to be better, together." Leo nodded. No grand gestures. No promises. Just truth. That night, they sat side by side, two souls finally breathing in peace. And in a room down the hall, a little girl slept soundly. Dreaming of a family she never thought she'd have. Weeks passed. But this time, things didn't fall apart. They grew stronger. Emily smiled more. Not just a child's smile, but one full of trust. She would reach for Mia's hand without hesitation. Ask for her before bedtime. Whisper secrets to her during breakfast. The bond between them was no longer something fragile. It was real. Unbreakable. And Leo? He had changed, too. He didn't disappear behind office doors anymore. He made time, real time, for his daughter. For dinners, for painting messy pictures, for sitting on the floor building puzzles that never quite fit. But most of all, for Mia. He watched her. Not just the way she cared, but who she was. The quiet strength. The warmth she carried into every room. The way she listened when no one else did. The way she made his house feel like home. And one afternoon, as the sun dipped low and golden light filled the living room, something happened. Emily had just finished reading Mia a story, her new favorite. And as she closed the book, she looked up at her with wide, thoughtful eyes. "Can I call you Mommy?" Mia froze. Tears filled her eyes before she could speak. Leo stepped in quietly, having heard everything. He looked at Mia. Then at Emily. And in that moment, everything made sense. Mia knelt beside Emily, her voice trembling. Only if it's from your heart. Emily nodded slowly. It is. And just like that, the world shifted. That night, after Emily had fallen asleep holding Mia's hand, Leo walked her to the front door, where she usually left. But she didn't move. Neither did he. For a long second, they just stood in silence. Then Leo said the words he'd held in for far too long. I've spent most of my life building walls. After everything with Vivian. I never thought I'd feel anything again. And then you walked in. Mia looked at him, her heart racing. You didn't make it easy, she whispered with a small smile. Leo laughed softly. No. But you stayed anyway. For Emily. For me. He reached out, gently taking her hand. You're not just the person who saved my daughter. You're the person who saved us. Mia's eyes shimmered. She had been through so much. Judged. Tested. Hurt. And yet, she was standing here. Not as a nanny. Not as an outsider. But as someone finally seen. Finally chosen. Leo took a deep breath. Stay. Not as an employee. Not as a guest. Stay as part of this family. Tears streamed down Mia's cheeks. She nodded, and didn't let go of his hand. Outside, the city lights blinked to life. Inside, a new story began. And the moral? Speech balloons sometimes, the people the world overlooks are the ones who bring us back to life.